What is Romanticism? The author Alain de Botton describes it as the most significant historical event of our time. But it's a difficult thing to define because Romanticism doesn't relate to a period or a specific occurrence, but to a set of ideas and values. And we should talk about it because they are the dominant values of our time. In brief, Romanticism is a reaction to the birth of the modern world, an age which had brought the triumph of science and reason and logic, and industrialization and consumerism and bureaucracy. And in opposition to these things, Romanticism stands for the irrational, the triumph of passion over reason, and nature over industrialization, and the weird and the exotic over the ordinary. Okay, let's step back. So ever since the Renaissance, there's been a real growth of the middle class, which has brought enormous changes in the social, political and economic landscape. Big deal, right? Because think about it. Before that, we spent literally 1,000 years of there being almost no middle class, just nobles, and everyone else is pretty much just a poor asshole. I mean, look at Game of Thrones. But not anymore. Now there is a new middle class, and this new class is changing the ideas in society. So from the 1600s or so, we start getting a thing called the Enlightenment, the age of science and reason. Descartes, Newton, Locke, Hume, Kant, these people. The common trend is the individual, because after centuries of being buggered by the church or the state, the individual is now at the center of the universe. With his ideas and his rights and his pursuit of happiness and above all his reason. Reason is what can make a better world, and these ideas lead directly to the French Revolution and the American Declaration of Independence and so on. You with me so far? Okay, artistically, reason means an ideal of clarity, of purity, of formal structure, of expressive restraint. Yeah? Check it out, here's some Mozart. Get it? It's all very high and noble and very elegant, and there's no excessive passions because that would be vulgar. But here comes the backlash. That's Tchaikovsky saying, wait a minute, fuck all this purity, this artistic ideal, this discipline. I thought this was meant to be about the individual. I want to express me, and this is how I feel. And that's the germ of Romanticism. It's passion over reason. It's still all about the individual, but now it's about the individual's irrational side. It's about the emotional extremes. And so you get a rebellion against the world of rationality and science. Screw the future, screw progress. Romanticism is about nostalgia. They have this thing called the Grand Tour, where every cultured young man had to do a tour around Italy to understand the beauty of the past. That's actually where our ideal of modern tourism comes from. Before this, people didn't go travel just for fun. And screw civilization. People like Rousseau praise the noble savage, living in a state of nature. Screw classical architecture and buildings. Romantics are all about the wilderness and nature. That's where we get our own obsession with nature. And screw rational adults. Baudelaire and Rousseau are all about the spontaneity and the natural genius of the child. And aren't we a little child-obsessed these days? Oh, think of the children. Why? And as for the artist, he's not meant to be a disciplined professional, but a deadbeat who struggles with poverty, substance abuse, and tragic backstories, and usually he dies young. And that's pretty much the template for our own Jim Morrisons and Amy Winehouses. And above all, Romanticism is about following the heart. And if things turn out horribly, as they inevitably do for romantic heroes like Goethe's young Werther, that's just further proof of how heartless and cruel our own modern society has become. So see how influential Romanticism is? This elevation of emotion over reason is embedded in our culture. It's certainly behind much of the great art that has dominated the past 200 years, but it can also be dangerous when it's taken to the extreme. Because today, it's the attitude that lays behind post-truth, the distrust of science, nationalism, and the extreme fringes of both the right and the left. Remember, Romanticism is about the extremes. So let's take a moment to evaluate Romanticism and figure out which bits of it we need and which bits we can instead consign to history.